Hello CraftDee Family, and welcome to another tutorial by She's So Crafty. For today's DIY project, we will be creating some modern boho style decor using the wood tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree, also known as the Mini Jenga Blocks. Now these decor creations can be used to add a little bit of warmth to your space or even give them as gifts. Now I've placed some of my favorite decorative accessories on these, but you can certainly customize these into your own personalized style of decor. Now as always, all of the projects I create have complete supply lists in the description box, so you can easily use it for reference as you gather your supplies. Now before we start, I have to say hey to all of my subscribers, and if you're a new visitor to my channel today, I hope you consider subscribing as well and stick around to enjoy these crafts and the different ways that I'll show you how to style these in your space. So now let's just jump right into the projects. Now this project is a wood trimmed planter. Now we're going to need some tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree and one of these trifle bowls from the Dollar Tree. Now we're going to start by gathering up our supplies with our blocks and grab a carpenter square. Now we'll be joining two blocks together as shown here to go around our bowl, so we're going to start adhering a bunch of those together. Now when you do join these together, you do want to make sure you wipe off any hot glue that oozes out of the seam. Now in order to determine how many we need, what I did is took a strip of paper and I'm wrapping it around the circumference of the bowl. Now once I get that measurement, I'm just going to lay my paper down and then just start laying out our two block pieces along that strip until the whole thing is covered, and that way we know we have enough to go around our entire bowl. Well, when it did reach the end, I needed 29 two block sets. So now we're going to take all of our two block sets and we are going to stain them, and I'm going to use some Waverly Antique Wax. You can certainly use traditional stain or paint or whatever kind of finish that you like. And then I'm just going to go ahead and apply this to all the sides of the two block sets, including the ends of each one. Now we're just going to repeat this for all of our block sets and allow them to completely dry. So now that they're dry, we can start to add them to our bowl. So go ahead and remove any tags or labels that are attached to the bowl. Now when we add these, we want to add them where they'll be staggered. So we're going to slightly form a little overlap along the bottom of the bowl and a larger overlap at the top for that first block. Just add a generous amount of that hot glue to the back and then place it on the side of the bowl. Now you certainly can use E6000 or Gorilla Glue or whatever type of adhesive that you prefer. So once we have that first one there, we are going to take that second one, and this one we're going to have this go a little bit lower than the first one, but still over that top lip of the bowl. So once you figure out that placement, go ahead and add your glue and then place that second one right in place. Now for the third one, this one we're just going to add our glue, and this first one will be in alignment with that first block set that we added, and this will continue to form our staggered placement. Now we're just going to continue this all the way around the bowl until it is all applied. Now here it is at the halfway point, and then here it is at the full coverage. Now and notice there is one slot left, and I needed to make one more two block set for this, and it actually is a little bit too wide. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tape one of my two block sets to my little miter box saw that I have here, and I'm just going to cut off about 1/8 of an inch off the end, just making sure that you make that cut nice and straight. Now these cut through really easy with this little miter box, and now that I've shaved that little bit off, you just want to test to make sure it fits in that slot, and it does fit perfectly. So we're just going to go ahead and stain it and then let it dry, and we can add it to our bowl with more of that hot glue. And there it is, it fit perfectly into place, and now our bowl is fully covered. So now what I want to do is go ahead and paint the bottom of the bowl, and I'm going to use some black acrylic paint. Now I did decide to do this last because I didn't want to mess up the paint job while I worked on the wood trim, but this is easily able to access with a paintbrush, and you just want to apply one nice coat on there at first and then make sure that that completely dries. Now once that first coat is applied, let it dry, and then you can add a second coat on. And once both of those dry, add a little Mod Podge to protect the finish. And here it is, all done with all of our layers on there, and this is your bowl, and now you're ready to decorate. Now once it dries, you can fill and decorate your bowl with the greenery of your choice. Now I absolutely love the way that this turned out, and the beautiful design of the wood looks amazing on this piece. And the black stand can definitely be seen underneath too. Now I used some eucalyptus in this planter, but these would look great with other varieties as well. Now how about using some succulents in a white rock filler? Now these succulents are from the Dollar Tree, and they make the perfect accessory for these. Now you can opt to use real plants as well, since this bowl is waterproof. Let me know what you think of this project in the comments below. Now this project is a frosted panel table centerpiece. Now we'll need some tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree, some chopping mats from the Dollar Tree, and some large craft sticks from Lowe's for 98 cents. Now let's go ahead and grab up our supplies, including our carpenter square and all of our blocks. Now the first set of blocks we will be making are sets of 3, and we're going to be making 12 total sets. Now to glue these, of course, you can use your wood hot glue or wood glue. It's absolutely up to you. And we're just going to join them together side by side as shown here. Now here is one of our 3 block sets, and we're going to repeat this until we have a total of 12. Now the next set of blocks we're going to be making are sets of 7, so we're going to go ahead and lay out 7 and glue them together the same way we did for the first sets. Now we are gluing these end to end, and mainly because this is longer, you do want to make sure you flip your pieces as you go. I just find that it makes them a lot straighter when you do it that way. And here is one of the 7 block pieces, and just repeat it until you have a total of 4. So now that all of our block pieces are done, we can start to put together our box here, and we're going to start with one of the long side panels. So go ahead and grab 2 of those 7 block pieces and 2 of the 3 block pieces. Now we're going to put the 3 block pieces at the end of the 7 block pieces, and we're going to sandwich those in between. Now you can secure these with some glue on the end of each one of those 3 block pieces. Now make sure you use your carpenter square to make sure everything is nice and square as you add them. And then just go ahead and flip it over to the other side, and then add that second 3 block piece. And here is one of your side panels all completed, and then just repeat this and make a second one. So now that we have these 2 done, set those to the side, and we can make our side panels on each end piece. So we're just going to join the 3 block sets together as shown here, making a kind of a square. Now again, we're just going to secure these together with that wood hot glue or wood glue of your choice, and then just add 2 of the 3 block sets on top of one, and then we can finally close in the end with that last 3 block set. And here is one of our end pieces, and we're going to repeat this and make one more out of our remaining 3 block sets. So now we have 2 sets. So now that all our pieces are made, we are going to stain them, and sticking with the theme, we are using a Waverly Antique Wax. Now we're just going to apply all over all of the surfaces of these pieces, since both will be shown in the project, and we do want to make sure that, you know, we get both sides, the inside edge and the outside edge. And here they are all covered, and now you just want to allow them to completely dry. Now we are going to add some feet, and this is totally optional. So I have some 20mm beads from Amazon, and I'll link those in the description box below. And we're also going to add those craft sticks to the bottom that I got from Lowe's, and we're going to stain those on both sides and also along the edges as well. And we're also going to stain the beads the same way. We're just going to rub the wax all over the beads until they are nice and covered. Now you want to repeat this until all of your sticks and your beads are nice and stained, and then let those dry as well. So now we can go ahead and start working on the mat. So I'm using these chopping mats from the Dollar Tree. You'll notice they'll have a shiny side and a matte side to them. So go ahead and take one of those mats, and what I'm going to do first is divide it in half down the center long way. So the half point should be about 5.5 inches, and I want to make a mark on each side. And then I want to split it down the middle, draw a line connecting those marks, and then you could just cut this apart with a pair of scissors. It cuts really easy. So now that we cut them in half, we're going to take one of the pieces and we're going to lay it on the side of the side panels. And what we want to do is just to make sure that we have some of the wood exposed on all sides. And so we're going to cut off some of that excess. So I cut off about a little bit over 1/4 inch off one of the edges, and then I'm just going to mark it and then cut that off. So again, I'm going to test fit it on there, and the sides are a little bit longer than I would like, so I'm just going to trim just about 1/8 inch off one of the sides, and there we have it. This is the perfect fit. We want some of that wood to be exposed so we'll be able to build our box, and this is the perfect size. So now that we have the perfect size, we are going to lay this on top of our other half piece that we cut out, and we're just going to trace the size right on, and then we can cut it out. That way we know that both pieces will be the same size and they will fit our frames. So now we're going to take our second mat and we're going to use that to cut out the two smaller frames as shown here. We're just going to outline the inside of this square here, and once we have that, we can go ahead and trim it out. Now when we trim this out, we're going to trim it out about 1/4 inch larger than the actual outline, so it'll have an edge to lay on the back and be mounted in, and you can see here how a cutout is larger than the tracing that I did. So now we're doing a test fit and it fits perfectly. So we're going to lay that back on the chopping mat, and we're going to trace the entire shape of this piece, and now we'll have a duplicate of the size. So now we have all of our pieces for our frosted windows. Okay, so now we can start applying those frosted windows. Now when you do apply them, you want to apply them with the matte side facing down and the shiny side towards you. And to adhere them, I like to first run a bead of hot glue along the top edge, place the edge of that chopping mat right on top first to seal it. Once that does bond, you can lift up the sides and start to add it around the remainder of the frame in sections. You just want to make sure you don't have too much hot glue where it oozes onto the matte side, but just enough to hold it in place. And here's the mat all bonded to one of the frames, and we want to do this for all of the frames, and here they all are with the chopping mats adhered, ready to go. So now we can start assembling our box. So we're going to lay down our pieces good side down, and then we're going to place the two side panels on. So I'm going to run a generous bead of hot glue along that edge there, and I'm going to place the edge of one of the frames right on the side. You want to make sure it's nice and even and square on the side. Once that bonds, we can repeat it and do the other side, and I'm running a bead on that seam just for a little bit of reinforcement. Now be sure as you go to wipe away any hot glue that oozes out or any hot glue webs in your project. And finally, we can add a bead of hot glue on top of the edge of the frames and then place our final panel right on top. And here is all the sides adhered, forms the nice large size box I was looking for. So now we're going to cover up the bottom of this box, and I'm going to be using these craft sticks that I got from Lowe's that we stained earlier, and we're going to adhere these just with some glue along the edges and the top and the bottom. Now these are slightly larger than the opening, so they do fit perfectly, but we will do some trimming at the very end. You just want to add all of the sticks the same way, side by side, all the way down the opening until they're all covered as shown here. So now what we're going to do is you can add some reinforcement sticks at the bottom if you want to, if you plan to put heavy items in, but I'm not going to add any to mine since I'll just be using lightweight candle holders, fillers, and greenery. So now I mentioned earlier that it would be overlapped slightly, so this is where you take your X-Acto knife or utility knife and just trim off the edges of all of those craft sticks, and you notice they do have an exposed wood edge, so I'm just going to grab the rag that I actually added that antique wax with, and I'm going to just lightly go over those edges just to stain and blend those in. And once that side is nice and done, we're just going to flip it around to the other side. We're going to trim and stain that one as well. Alright, so now that that's done, we can flip it over and start adding our feet. And I'm going to start by adding one of these 20mm beads in each one of the corners at the very bottom of the box. Now this is completely optional, but this is what I chose to do to add as an accent to my box, and I'm also going to add one at the center on each side as well for a little bit of extra support. Okay, now we flip it over and everything is in place and ready to go. So here is my final result of this piece, and I am so happy with the way it turned out. Now I added some battery candles from the Dollar Tree for a soft and relaxing glow for this piece. Now you can also add greenery inside or around it as well as an accent. Now you want to be sure to only use battery candles in this piece since it is wood, just to be safe. Now you can also fill your piece with fairy lights for a sparkly look. Now just a couple of strands inside and you have an instant beautiful lighted decor piece. Now you can use this on a table, a shelf, a mantle, or anywhere that you want relaxing glow in your space. Now this project is a leaf design with frame. Now we're going to need some tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree and some foam board from the Dollar Tree. Okay, so we're going to lay out our mat, grab our supplies, and our carpenter square. Now the first set of blocks we'll be using for this are sets of 6 blocks, and we're going to be making 2 of those 6 block sets. So I'm going to be using my wood hot glue to join these together, so I'm going to join them end to end, making sure I clean off any hot glue that oozes out of the seams. And here's what one of the 6 block sets looks like, and repeat it until you have a total of 2. Now the second set of blocks that we'll be making are sets of 4 blocks. Now we're going to join these together just like we did our 6 block sets, and we'll be making a set of 2. Okay, so now we have our pieces are done. We're just going to lay the longer piece along the bottom, and we're going to glue right on top at the corner one of those 4 block sets on each end. Now once the 2 sides are joined, we're going to flip the whole thing over and then add that bottom piece to close in our frame. Okay, so now our frame is now complete. So now it's ready to stain, and of course we're using our Waverly antique wax for this. And for this application, all we're going to have to do for this is add it on the top, the inside, and the outside. There will be no need to stain the back of this frame because we will be mounting it on the foam board. So here's my frame all nice and stained, and so set it to the side to completely dry. Okay, Okay, so while that dries, we're going to start working on our leaf artwork. So I'm just going to take a piece of cardstock. This is regular printer size cardstock, and I want to draw just like a leaf outline. Now I am freehanding this, but I'm going to show you step by step how I do it. So what I'm going to do with this leaf outline that I make, I'm going to go over it and make it super bold 2 or 3 times with my Sharpie just to make it stand out. I did add a little tip up top, just trying to be fancy with it, and I'm going to go over the lines. So then I'm just going to draw a curved stem down the middle, and again you want to make that a little bold as well. Now once we have that basic shape, we're just going to start drawing some veining. I'm being a really random and just freehanding all of this. You can make them any shape, any kind of wavy design that you like. It's all up to you. So here is our basic shape for our leaf. Now we're going to go in with the fun part. I am going to add some nice stripes along each one of the segments of my leaf. This just adds just a little bit of visual appeal to the leaf. I love this design. I believe I saw something similar to this a long time ago in a friend's house, and I absolutely loved it, and I always thought, yeah, I think I want to make something like that. So you can make straight lines. You see I'm curving a little bit here. All of this just adds a little bit of kind of eye candy for you, I guess you would say, because of the design. It's really attractive, and I really love just this free-handed leaf design. So now that our frame is dry, what we're going to do is we're going to take our frame, I'm going to lay it right on top of my foam board, and I'm just going to outline it with a pencil, and then on those lines I'm going to take my utility knife, or you can use an X-Acto knife, and I'm going to trim out that shape from the foam board. Now in order for this to not show from our frame, I'm going to trim off 1/4 of an inch off the short and long sides so you won't see the foam board from the front of the frame. And now we can grab our leaf drawing, and we are going to adhere it to the top of the foam board. And to do this, I'm simply going to use a glue stick, and I'm just going to go around the edges first and then fill in the center with the glue stick and then place it right on top of the foam board piece. And now we're going to go ahead and take our frame, and we're going to adhere that right on top of everything. So we're flipping it over, and we want to make sure everything is nice and centered, and then apply a bead of hot glue around the back of the frame. And then place your leaf print carefully right on top, making sure everything is nice and centered, and press it into place. And now our leaf print is nice and framed. So now what we have to do is just flip it back over, and we're going to add a hang string. So I'm using a piece of jute twine that has a double knot on each end, and I'm just going to add a heaping amount of hot glue under each one of those knots on each side, just making sure that it's nice and secure. This is perfectly fine for this lightweight piece, and it'll support it with no problem. And then we just allow this to dry completely, and then we can hang this up and display it in our space. And that's all you have to do for this awesome wall decor piece. So fun and easy. Now this leaf just gives me all of the bohemian vibes, and there are so many styles that you could sketch out or even print to go with your theme. And I think this wood frame pulls the look together, and it was super easy to make as well. Let me know what kind of designs you would love to see made in this easy frame. Now this project is a spiral block design vase. Now we're going to need some tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree and one 7-inch glass cylinder vase from the Dollar Tree. Okay, so we're going to start out working on our vase for this project. So I have another strip of paper, and I'm going to wrap this around my vase in a spiral design that I would like to go with. So I'm just wrapping it around till it's nice and snug, and then taping it in place where it starts and stops. Now once the design is how you like it, I'm going to take my Sharpie, and what I'm going to do is I am going to make a line along that top edge of that spiral band all the way around, and this will perform as a guide when adding our blocks. Then we just remove the paper, and now our spiral design is on the vase. Now for the blocks, what we're going to do is just stain a bunch of the tumbling tower blocks with our antique wax. And once they're stained, we want to stain all sides but the back. We want to leave the back bare. Now once they dry, we can actually start adding them to the vase. So I'm going to start with that first block at the very top edge of the vase. I'm just going to add a generous amount of that wood stick hot glue. You could use Gorilla Glue or E6000. It's totally up to you. And we're going to start that at the very top. And then when we want to add our second one, we are just going to cover just barely the top of that spiral line that we made, so it won't show in the final project. It actually acts as a guide. Now we're just going to continue to add our blocks as shown here along that spiral line all the way around the vase until they are all applied. Now here we go. This is how it's going so far, and here is all of the pieces applied to the vase. So now what we're going to do is go in and we want to paint our vase with some acrylic paint. Now I didn't paint the vase beforehand because when you apply the blocks on top of paint, it tends to fall off and they don't adhere well. I wanted to adhere them to the glass directly. So now I'm just going in with a fine paintbrush and applying that acrylic paint on the exposed glass all the way around. And here is the first coat. So we're going to go in with a second coat after that dries, and here is what the finished look will look like. Now you definitely want to protect your surface that you painted, so then just use some Mod Podge to go over all of the painted surfaces, let that dry, and then now your vase is ready to display. And you guys, here is the final look and I love it. Now I think that the wood stained blocks and the black vase look so amazing together, and it makes a really awesome decor piece for faux or your real plants. Now I absolutely love being able to create these DIYs with so many uses, and I really hope that you have fun with these projects. Now as always, I love them all, but let me know in the comments which one was your favorite today. Listen, if you love DIYs on a budget, please give this video a thumbs up and share this video with your friends. Make sure that you're following She's So Crafty EE on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest for the latest news, sneak peeks, and giveaways. Now, if you like videos like these and don't want to miss the next one, make sure you're subscribed by clicking that subscribe button below, or just click on my She's So Crafty logo on your screen, and make sure you hit that bell to be notified when the next DIY goes live. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.